What's up, y'all? Welcome back to the channel once again. So, one of the featured fights of UFC 280 is going to be the bantamweight bout between Petr Yan and Sean O'Malley. Now, this is arguably the most contrasting fight on the entire UFC 280 card just because of how much of a favorite Yan is heading into this fight. On the other hand, this is going to be Sean O'Malley's biggest fight in the UFC so far. I mean, so far he has pretty much fought nobodies in the UFC with the exception of Chito Vera, Eddie Wineland, and Pedro Munoz. That Pedro Munoz fight is still, of course, ended with an accidental eye poke, one that Munoz is still probably complaining about. So, yeah, credits to Sean for stepping up and fighting a former UFC bantamweight champion in this pay-per-view. Now, the big question heading into this fight is, of course, has Sean somehow gotten into the head of Petr Yan? O'Malley, I would say, isn't generally the best on the microphone when it comes to the UFC press conferences, and in all fairness, he did sort of get owned by Petr Yan during that UFC 280 press conference. But somewhere deep down, I think maybe Yan sort of feels disrespectful. Some people have backed Sean to win this fight, so that could potentially be a reason why Sean might have gotten inside the head of Petr Yan, because at the press conference face-offs, Yan lost his cool and of course shoved O'Malley. So it is safe to say that he doesn't really respect Sean, at least at this point in time. And for O'Malley, if he somehow has won the mental battle, then that is a big advantage for him heading into this fight, and he definitely has a chance at winning this fight, I must say. However, overall, Petr Yan is simply a better fighter than Sean is. He's arguably one of the best boxers in the UFC right now, and Sean, whose strong aspect is his striking, could be beaten at his own game by Yan at UFC 280. In a striking battle, you would expect Yan to dominate Sean out there because he's simply a lot more well rounded between the two fighters. But O'Malley also has a few advantages in this fight, first of which is his reach. O'Malley has those long arms, and he can win a striking battle from a certain range and distance. He could simply invite Yan to his own range and get the better of him if he wants to. The other talking point is, of course, Sean O'Malley's head movements and his ability to strike while going backwards. O'Malley has exceptional head movement, and I genuinely wouldn't be surprised if he manages to duck some of Petr Yan's shots. In the fight against Chris Moutinho, Moutinho was charging forward all the time, and O'Malley was destroying him while moving backwards. So if he can keep this fight in his own range, Sean can find himself in a pretty sweet spot in this fight. But once again, Yan has a lot of experience. He has fought a lot better opponents in the UFC. He has, in fact, fought the likes of Corey Sandhagen, who is probably my favorite bantamweight fighter right now. And the way Yan neutralized Sandhagen in those first 3 rounds was massive. And of course, that is, I think, what got him the win in that fight. And of course, he won the interim bantamweight championship as well. I genuinely wouldn't be surprised if we see Yan knock out Sean O'Malley. Like, I could possibly picture O'Malley, laying on his back, knocked out cold, because let's be honest, Yan is likely to destroy Sean out there. And on top of that, he's probably a lot more pissed off about the fact that he lost to Aljamain Sterling for a second time, of course, in his last fight. On top of that, Yan also has great grappling too. He probably doesn't need it in this fight, but I would expect him to go out there and destroy O'Malley in any possible way he wants. One big talking point about this fight is the fact that it is a 3 round fight, so maybe, just maybe, maybe that could be something that comes into play in advantage of Sean O'Malley. If he can maintain his distance, if he can keep striking and move around for the entire 3 rounds, then he has a big chance of winning this fight. But that doesn't really change my prediction for this fight. I think Yan is winning via a KO, and I think it's not going to look pretty for the Sugar Show at UFC 280. Nonetheless, could you imagine if Sean O'Malley wins this fight? If he beats arguably the best bantamweight in the UFC right now and goes on to fight the winner of TJ Dillashaw and Aljamain Sterling for the title, who are of course the co-main event of UFC 280. I mean, the UFC is going to strap a rocket behind O'Malley if he somehow wins this fight, because on top of that, Petr Yan had said that O'Malley is a UFC slash Dana White project, much like Conor McGregor was, whatever you want to call it. They need a superstar like Sean. Now that Conor is slowly fading away and he's starting to become more inactive in the UFC. But I just don't think that Petr Yan is going to let all that happen. So yeah, I'm expecting a big win for the former UFC bantamweight champion, and I'm expecting him to potentially fight for the title after this win. I mean, it just lines up perfectly for him because we have Aljamain Sterling, the current champion, defending the title against TJ Dillashaw, who I think is going to become the new champion at UFC 280. and maybe we could see Jan versus Dillashaw next. Or if the UFC wants, they could probably book Jan versus Chito Vera in a potential title eliminator fight. So yeah, maybe that's how Peter Yan finds himself back into the title picture once again, and his route could very well start with a victory over Sean O'Malley at UFC 280. But yeah, as for an official prediction, I wouldn't be surprised 100% if we get to see Sean O'Malley get knocked out. I mean, he did lose one time in the UFC, which was to Chito Vera, but that was via TKO. But I'm talking about a brutal, cold knockout this time around at UFC 280. Peter Yan is a killer. He's going to go out there. He's going to make it look ruthless. He's going to be ruthless out there. He's going to make it look probably one-sided even. Who knows? So yeah, I'm just expecting Peter Yan to go out there, dominate. But the only reason, like one of the few reasons why I like fights of these types, is because you have an underdog in the form of Sean O'Malley, and of course you have a clear favorite in the form of Peter Yan. So that's what makes these fights more interesting, more exciting, because there's always that factor. What if the underdog pulls off this upset victory? What if Sean O'Malley pulls off the upset victory? That's why you want to tune in for this fight. That's why you want to tune in to either watch Sean O'Malley pull off one of the biggest upsets in UFC history, or you could watch one of the biggest rising stars in the UFC get brutally knocked out by a former champion. But yeah, that's it for this video. That's it for my prediction for Peter Yan versus Sean O'Malley. I think Peter Yan has got this in the bag easy. I think he's getting the win. Even if not via KO, I mean, yeah, he can win this fight in any way he wants, but I'm expecting a KO nonetheless. Anyway, thanks for watching. I'll see you guys later tonight for the UFC 280 watch party slash watch along live discussion. I'm hoping that most of you will join the live chat, will join the discussion, and much like yesterday, we're gonna have a good time. We're gonna discuss the fights. We're gonna watch the fights together. I mean, of course, I'm not gonna stream them, but yeah, of course, we're gonna discuss the fights. And yeah, if you guys enjoyed this video, do hit the like button and subscribe to the channel as well. I'll see you guys later tonight for UFC 280. Thanks for watching.